Welcome and thank you everyone for joining us for another Twitter Space. Today is July 11th, 2022, and this is episode 8 of the ledgerscale Internet of Value Open Forum. ledgerscale was founded with two goals in mind. One, we want to provide educational services to not only our community, but to scale up the number of brains that understand how distributed ledger technology works. And two, we intend to one day run hardware to provide infrastructural support to the distributed ledger technology networks that we believe are ESG friendly and running a form of decentralized consensus. And I just want to quickly just give a shout out to everybody who joins these spaces every day, that comes up and speaks with us. Other than the community finding it valuable, I just want everybody to know that I find everybody else's opinions very valuable, and I love to hear what everybody has to say, and that's the real reason we do these every day. But if I could ask if everybody could give us a follow at the Ledger Scale account on Twitter, and if you could retweet these spaces when you give it a listen, or if you're in the space right now. Oh, I just realized this. I don't think Karma can speak right now. Sorry. If anybody wants to come up though and speak with us, please feel free to hit the request. Come up. Any topics you have on mind, any news today. If you guys want to talk about what was released from so far from the court today, we have a little bit of news at least to talk about. And if you guys don't want to come up, just ignore the invites.
That was good, Death Ranger. Karma, thanks for hosting as always. And yeah, we was in a conversation last week, I think, Death Ranger, and we was talking about with one of our friends, Gadget, about NFTs on the decentralized exchange. Now, with other blockchains, because they don't have a native um, decentralized exchange, right? So I'm just going to close the window real quick. Am I right in thinking that the decentralized exchange on the XRP ledger is almost going to be like an interface for numerous marketplaces to list their NFTs? So if we look at examples, say on the Flare network now, there's like two prominent NFT marketplaces. You've got Sparkles and you've got NFTSO, right? And when people list an NFT on there, because it doesn't have a decentralized exchange, the NFT that may be listed on Sparkles is not necessarily reflected on NFTSO. But with the XRP ledger, I imagine it's going to be someone makes an offer on the decentralized exchange with their NFT, a price that they want to sell it, and then any marketplace can effectively plug into that data as an interface and basically display the full order book of all the NFTs that exist that are being sold, right?
I would
Yeah,
say that's pretty spot on.
the
Oh, go ahead.
can you guys hear me? Is this thing working?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, if I'm hearing you right, the difference is with XRP Ledger, the exchange functionality is on Ledger versus with some of these other, like even like a Coinbase exchanges or like NFT galleries, whatever you want to call them, the exchange functionality is on their centralized ledger. So
Yeah.
In easy words, yes.
Yeah, I just really wanted confirmation because that was my initial thoughts. But yeah, I think that's going to be absolutely crazy for like the liquidity of NFTs. Where similar to how the DEX already performs. I know Sologenic brand it as their DEX, but they're really just an interface into the actual ledger itself, the decentralized exchange on the XRP ledger. So, once we have multiple, not just DEXs, but NFT marketplaces as well, directly plugged into the XRP ledger, it's going to be absolutely crazy for volume in my eyes.
I'm really looking forward to that one aspect. I think it's going to be very competitive because, as you said, right, for example, Songbird, for a marketplace, it's very difficult, right? Not only do they have to build the UI, they have to write a smart contract that's able to interact and do all of the functions that they need to on the blockchain, right? With the XRP ledger, it's essentially just a really nice UI that they have to just build out. And so I think it's going to create a very competitive. So you're going to have all of these different marketplaces that are going to compete to be like the easiest to use and the most user friendly, and the cheapest, the royalties, and the way that they set all these things up. So I think I'm really looking forward to that aspect.
Well, I don't think any of the network has a built-in decentralized exchange like the XRP ledger does, right? So it's not just going to be competitive or like in that ecosystem, but also it's going to be, I guess, highly regarded in comparison to other networks like Ethereum. OpenSea versus Rarible, that they just really can't compete with what's
Well,
going
I think I'm pretty sure Stellar still has a DEX.
Yeah, of course. Maybe Stellar's one of the few exceptions, but I think the majority are lacking that decentralized exchange built on Ledger.
It's an interesting characteristic and probably one of the most attractive, I think, that the XRP ledger has in the protocol, for sure. And there's also two sides to that, though, because yes, from the NFT standpoint, I definitely see it as way more attractive. Um, but there are other smart contract logics that still don't exist yet on the XRP ledger, and may not for some time. And so there is possibility that if you wanted to do some stuff like that with NFTs, you might still want to, for the time being, look at using like a chain that's like EVM compatible, like Songbird and Flare, or even something like Rust, like Solana. Even though I don't really favor the chain itself. And Chris, you came up with your hand up. If you would.
I was just gonna say that XLM has a bit of an issue with NFTs that they need to solve still. They kind of run something.
Yeah, they haven't solved that yet. Yeah, Chris, I just was gonna speak there.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Theirs are a lot like 14Ds, where they're just a token, the smallest possible amount, and that's another problem, because their drop, or whatever you would call the smallest XLM, is actually too small. So they have to create a separate currency that is worth a ton so that it can be properly fractionalized to actually enable the transaction with these XLM version of 14Ds. So they need to have an amendment sometime in the future as well if they want to be able to actually get mass market of NFT. Because I don't think there's a lot currently. I know LumenSwap only has the one NFT. I don't know about the whole XLM ecosystem, but I don't think there's a lot of NFTs there yet.
But how does that make sense if why can't you just adjust the amount? Like why would it be why would the thing being divisible by to a far out decimal point be a hindrance? I'm not sure I
don't remember
understand
the
the problem.
exact technical reason for it. It was a while ago that I looked at it. I'll look for the tweet, because it was a tweet that I was having back and forth with John, and he gave an
Would it
explanation.
have
I'll see if I
to do
can.
with the value that exists? Would it have to do with the real world value of XLM today? Like if it went up in value, would that essential problem be solved? Do you think? And there are definitely. I mean, I think the consensus that Stellar runs is it's top notch compared to pretty much everything else that exists in the space, right? But there are definitely some differences between the two, the XRP Ledger and Stellar, like that, and like there needs to be a better for XLM, a better scan or Explorer, I should say. Like the XRP scan is excellent, there's really not an easy way unless you know how to build your own API connection to the XLM network that to really get like good information.
Well, Stellar Expert is a really good site. I don't know, is there a feature missing on there that you'd be looking for? Or?
Stellar Expert? No, never heard of it. I'm going to look it up. Stellar.expert or Stellar Expert?
Oh, it's I don't know off by hand. It's pretty cool. Like they're
Got rugged, I think. You there, Chris?
yeah,
Yeah,
sorry, I
it's
was
just
rugging.
it's just called Stellar Expert. Just regular Stellar Expert. They have like that's a good analytic tool to search up
So they
issues and
act
stuff on there.
their Explorer website.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Awesome. I'm going to
It's
look up.
actually a great site. I'd love to see a Stellar Expert for XRPL. It's very well done. Like
Actually,
they
yeah, you're right on that, Chris.
they have this one graph that I like. I don't know if it's called a web or whatever, but it kind of takes liquidity and amount of trust lines in a token and kind of gives you this really good visualization of whether or not it's a good active project or if it's just a turd sitting on the network.
It sounds a lot like what FOMO is actually doing right now for the XRPL.
Oh, FOMO site is amazing.
They also
I
have
can't wait to see all further.
order
Yeah, I think what you kind
average
of
ledger
sure the
closing
FOMO's gonna have.
time.
Sorry, what was that, 808?
Yeah, they have some good analytics on average ledger closing time, existing accounts, number of daily active accounts. Even show how active some of these accounts are, how new some of these assets and trust lines. They have
Yeah,
some pretty good
those are some
analytics on
cool.
it.
I like that.
Makes it easier for people to actually search on how when they do on XRP scan where they have to manually kind of search to the different trust lines that had opened the parent trust line to the children trust line to all of it. XLM that XLM Explorer one on XLM kind of actually combines it all into one almost.
What do you mean, parent to
Yeah,
child trust
Still
line?
evolving. So there's when you open different trust lines and you open one trust line from the one you created originally, you are called the parent wallet. You're the parent of that rest that you open from the one trust line you opened
Yeah,
originally.
so you can see the farmers, right?
Yes.
I'm missing
yeah.
something.
XLM actually has a lot of cool features. We've even stolen a couple. Like I think it even mentions that we took Tomo from Stellar. So we borrowed some things from them, but they have there's things like I can fund your trust line for you, or which is kind of cool to see the stat. If you look at a token that's been created, you can see how many trust lines they funded rather than the actual customer funded. Which is if you look at it and it's like purely funded by the project, then you know that was pretty much just an airdrop and nobody's really investing in it. And then there's things like their REST API, which the XRPL killed their REST API. It's some of it still works, most of it's just dead. Their REST API is like 100 years in the future compared to what XRPL's was. So building on it is super simple. It's old. It's not the best way to use an API, but there's so much that you can do in the call that you can't do on the XRPL, like pre-sorting and pre-filtering your results from the API call so that your server doesn't have to do that extra processing. So rich list, for example, I could make in my call that I want to get a list of everybody that owns, between 10 and 800 of this token. And I want them sorted from most to least, and you'll receive it that way rather than you have to do all that processing yourself, which is really cool, really powerful. XLM's got some cool stuff that we should borrow and look at.
One of them that should have is the one you said earlier where it shows how some of these accounts and trust lines were pre-funded or funded from, and how much people is actually buying into the token. So it shows the activity that is coming from the actual what we community. You know what I mean? The people is actually putting their own value because they really believe in the project. But some of these projects just shoot their shit to random wallets that could be open from them or a friend that opens an extra, and that's just showing how much these trust lines, just showing the volume of these trust lines and not really showing the value of them coming from an actual person.
These are the projects that I want to see being like built right now. Kind of like this is, because somebody had to build that, right? Somebody's pulling that API information from Stellar to their UI and posting it live, right? Like, so that's really essentially what we need. We need somebody to do this. I say need because it would be cool, but I unfortunately don't have the skills to be able to do something like that. But I think when I look at like projects, I think that's something that would be totally cool to have in the community for the XRP ledger.
The unfortunate thing we have on the XRPL is a lot of these projects that do go to the effort of making cool sites go and wrap it in a token that you're required to hold and speculate on and create accounts. And we need to steer away from that. We never started that way, right? There's nothing, you don't need anything to use BitHop and XRP scan and XRP toolkit. Even though toolkit did have a token, it's completely unnecessary at all to use their platform. There are some cool sites out now that I just refuse to use because I'm not logging into them and I am not holding their token.
I agree, Chris. Unfortunately, I do agree with them. It's not enough.
Chris, you want to hear the goofy thing? Is with the karma coverage business model, you don't really need to have a token. But then I got criticism about that, and so I was like, okay, how can I work a token into this, model? Like, how do I? And like you can do it, and it does make some sense from a liquidity point of view. But I think it's also doable without that. So yeah, it's it's one of the first questions I look at or ask when I'm looking at a project is, do you really need do you really need blockchain?
Hey, does anybody know?
Weird.
Yeah, does anybody know if you had your XRP on the Celsius platform, and so my snapshot was taken there, so all my tokens are locked on Celsius right now. So when they do start distributing the tokens, I mean, is there going to be any way to get them off of there? Or?
When you did the snapshot, did you post? I mean, I don't know Celsius. If you didn't have self custody, then maybe they're going to receive them. But if you were able to, under like a self custody type of framework, post your message key.
Yeah, they're holding them. It even shows right now, like my balance, how many tokens I'm getting, but that whole platform's completely frozen. So
yeah, it's a very questionable matter.
Yeah, it's gonna depend on them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. 808. It really depends on them. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, man.
Unfortunately, yeah, because they have it. They're gonna have it. It's gonna be distributed to them when time comes. That's why a lot
It
of
would also
people
be
during the beginning were stressing out for self custody purposes because of these reasons.
yeah,
When you actually do it and stuff like that. I did some on a sec and some. Most of mine is self custody. So, but I just wanted to dabble a little bit to learn about it because the only way we learn about stuff is if by doing. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I did some on a regular and then most of mine self custody.
yeah. Well, I pulled all my XRP off before it got frozen, but the spark's all sitting there.
Yeah, they're gonna sit there until they figure out what they're gonna do with their platform. But I believe I just seen in the news that they paid off all their debt or something like that. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But I just gotta just gotta keep up to date with what's going on, and that's about it
Yeah.
that we can do.
Yeah.
Can't
I
fret
hear
over
you.
it too much and you stress about it too much. Only gonna make your own life miserable.
Nah, I hear you. All right, man. I appreciate it.
Did Celsius hand out their Songbird previously, or do you know if they did 808, or do you?
Yeah, I got. Yeah, I have.
Yeah, they did. They
They did.
distributed
Yeah.
their songbird.
Yeah, I got it all stuck on there too. Everything's just stuck.
Yeah,
And
but
nope.
because of what happened and their loans and all that stuff they're doing, bad old investing. You know what I mean? Old fight investing, bringing it over here. Yeah, those bad decisions they made. They had to freeze their assets until they were able to pay it back because the loan that they have to pay back. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not looking good. Not looking good. But Flair is looking good.
Yeah, very excited. Oh, he just left. What is the timing? I was just
I
about.
know, right when that about to come up, and then he left. He leaves.
Let me message him real quick. He might.
But glad his YouTube came back on.
Very happy. Yes. Yeah. It's just a mistake by YouTube, of course, but typical. He provides great content. But I am also very excited for Flair. And it should be technically the network should be live right now. As much as it's not public, they're just starting to run the structure and decentralize the node structure. I should say. Sorry, run the network, run the protocols.
Until it becomes fully decentralized.
Sufficiently decentralized, I would say. So they won't. The network and the token distribution won't go live until they are at least less than 33% of the overall node structure or validation structure. Hey, what's up, OC? Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for letting me up here. Hey, I got a question in regards to private public key pairs and the seed phrase that you generate when you, say, for example, connect a Ledger Nano. So when you get a new Ledger Nano, it generates, key phrase doesn't give you the public key pair. But you can also, I guess technically get an account. I'll call it an account, I guess, by creating and generating a key pair. I sort of want to see if you guys know a little bit more on the differences and how I'm able to generate the seed phrase from the key pair. If I do generate the key pair and vice versa, how I'm able to get the private key from the seed phrase. Is there any trusted site that I can do that? Because I also don't just want to enter that information into any random site and to generate that. So I'm a little confused on how that all that works.
So that's a wallet thing. It's specifically designed from each wallet. Some wallets will just give you a master key. Some wallets will provide you with the ability to have the different seeds, so different wallets for obviously different blockchains. It's more specific to the wallet itself, right? Because I've had an instance where I tried to import a master key into a wallet and it would not work because it specifically would only allow me to do the secret phrase. And so there are some differences that sometimes come into play with that depending on the wallets. But if you're going from master key to a master key situation, you would import all of your wallets, and that's typically the easiest way to get around if you're going
So,
to import it somewhere.
so there's not a way for me to generate the seed phrase from the public key pair
On Ledger,
or from the private.
I don't have a Ledger, so I don't know specifically, but
I don't think I don't think you can get it off of the ledger. What you could maybe do, and I'm sure I don't know where, but there's got to be something on GitHub. So like there's got to be a process that's taking that private key and generating the seed phrase from it, right? So I'm sure that's open source. I have no idea what repo it would be in.
Yeah, thought about that, but then I would think that the website would have to be reputable because I
Are you
wouldn't want
trying
to.
to get your
Private
seed phrase,
ledger.
your recovery seed phrase
No,
you're
he
talking
doesn't want
about?
a recovery seed phrase. He wants a specific seed key for one of the wallets in the ledger, right? OC?
No, that was going to be another question I have. So no, so uh, it's not that I'm trying to recover. It's that I'm trying to generate, or not generate, but I'm just in my head. I'm thinking, well, if I create an account via Ledger Nano, it'll give me a seed phrase. But if I go to a tool to generate public and the private key pair, then that will give me the pair, but it won't give me the seed phrase. Is how can I generate the seed phrase from the pair in order to be able to, I guess in this case, use it with multiple wallets and just to maybe not necessarily write down the private key, but write down the seed phrase instead.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you would need to find that, what I was just saying. You'd need to find the software that you can feed the public key is generated from the private key. First off, just if you didn't know that.
Yeah, right.
Second off, there's got to be some sort of software that. Oh, I remember reading some stuff about this a few years back, but I don't remember. It was like over my head.
And recently,
So
somebody
OC,
needed to
can you hear me?
reached out to Twitter and get a solution for that.
I think you're rugging, Chris.
I think you're losing service, bud. Yeah. Scams came up, and Wolf, welcome up, guys. Scam, do you have any idea on this?
Yeah, I just heard like the very end of it, and I was just trying to, maybe if you could restate it one more time, I might have some advice.
So there's two ways for me to create, I guess, an XRP account, right? I can either buy Ledger Nano, and it'll generate, my seed phrase, and then I'll be able to install the application, which will then, create my account. But I can also go on, web browser page and go to a tool that will generate the private key pair, and then it'll do the same thing. I can just have XRP be sent to that wallet or to that address. Is how can I generate the seed phrase from the private key?
The question is, how do you reverse order, right? Like if you have your secret
Yeah.
key, you can how do you generate the seed phrase from the secret, and then two, if you don't have the secret key, like on a nano, but you have the passphrase, how do you like reverse order that and get the secret key?
Right. Yeah, so good question, but a couple thoughts around that. Like first, I'd be careful about like why you would even do that in the first place, because if you're using an online web wallet, that basically becomes a hot key, if you will, a hot wallet, because it's something on the internet. So you kind of don't want to share that with your ledger, because then your ledger is not a cold wallet anymore. If you have the key sitting somewhere else, it kind of defeats the purpose of having a ledger in the first place. But I don't know the specific web wallet you're trying to work with. But the way it usually works is seed is just a human readable way of being able to like transfer and write down and move a master private key, right? So this other software you're working with may have a master private key, but is not doesn't work with seed words. It just works with the master private key. Like Karma said, there are tools out there that will potentially take a master private key and put them into seed words for you, or the other way around. But you also want to be really careful with those, and doing software like that off the internet. Usually, you want to make sure it's something that's open source, and even then, you want to potentially do it on an offline computer that's never connected to the internet. Especially if you don't have the ability to read the code yourself and see in there that it's not sending that data to any
I
other
just hope
server.
anybody has not done it with MetaMask now.
Well, MetaMask does both for you. MetaMask does let you look at the seed words and look at the master private key. And you know, not all wallets are going to let you do that. One will work to one function, one will work to the other. But I mean, I think going back to the first thing I said is you got to consider why you're even trying to do this. If you want it accessible in both places, if you have it, whether it's in seed format or master key format, they're essentially the same thing once converted. On some web browser wallet, then that's a hot key, and having it on the ledger is pointless because you have a hot key out there. You want your ledger to be the only thing that has your secret. If you want to share your secret, it's only really okay to share it with another cold storage device. The second you share it with a hot device, you gotta, from a a perspective of adversarial thinking, think that that could have been exposed. So that's why cold storage is kept cold, and that's where you put the most of your holdings. And hot storage is, you really should keep a lot less in hot storage just in case. So you gotta.
Yeah, I do agree.
And I've been slow to adopt some of these hardware wallets, even though I've literally got some sitting here in front of me. But what happens when you start doing key rotation? And what happens with multi-sig? And I don't know, I'm sure there's different answers for different wallets, but
That's exactly what I was going to say.
oh yeah. sorry, man.
Because it really does. It really depends on the wallet creator and what they build into the wallet and what they enable it to do. But Wolf, you've had your hand up for a couple of minutes, man. Go ahead if you have a question, please. And anybody in the audience that would like to come up, please feel free to hit the request, come up, questions, anything you want to bring up, topics, please. Go ahead, Wolf. Sorry.
Yeah,
Just
thanks so
gonna lay
much
it out.
for having me
Ledger is a multi-sig too. It can be. Sorry.
up. No problem. Thanks so much for having me up. OC, if you're afraid for that phrase and things like that, you could try Ledger, but I also have fallen in love with the Exum cards lately, because then you don't even have to worry about cameras that can look at your ledger while you are, or even while you're writing down your recovery phrase. If you have a Exum card, you have that this chip that you can just tap to your phone, and yeah, you don't have to worry. You just, if you lose your card, you lose it, but you don't have to worry if anyone has seen your recovery phrase or anything. You just have to keep your card safe. So Exum cards have to be one of the safest.
Oh, did you say the Tangent cards from Zum?
Yeah, Tangent, yeah,
Dude,
Exum.
yeah,
Sorry.
I agree. I love it, actually. I do. And you know what? And you get two, right? And then every order. So typically you have the first one and then you have the backup one. Now the most important thing though is that you don't never lose the backup one, because somebody could kick you off, right? They could with the backup key they could disable your original key. But other than that, I mean, if you keep it in a secure location, yeah, that's nice cold storage on a hot wallet.
Yeah, I haven't tried with the backup, but for me it's like the safest way.
Got to make sure, yeah, you got to set up a backup, because what often, you lose that key. That's it. It's locked forever.
Yeah, but speaking of that, the chips, how secure are they? Is it like a chance that the chip could be like stopped working for some reason? Have that happened before?
That's interesting. Yeah, that's a fear too. You never know.
No, the only only thing I worry about if the chip should stop working.
I'm glad you're coming up, because I actually have a question.
The Tangent card has its own R address, so it's like its own account already. So if with that R address, you'll be able to connect through your you'll be able to have all your stuff, right?
Yeah. So one thing I thought about, like, so how you said, like, the chip, right? So say something happened with the chip, um, and or your card. If you had the seed phrase and you moved from that Zum wallet to a different wallet, would you be able to access the XRP or no? That's it. It's still locked. Vet, do you know the answer to that? For Skims?
I mean, if it's the same secret, right, then it should be. I have never used the Tangent card myself, so maybe that has more info. But if it's the same secret, you should be. But you got to remember, in Zum Wallet itself, right, it doesn't use seed words, right? It uses like a different thing of like numbers and letters, if I remember correctly,
Yeah,
that you
numbers.
have
Yeah.
to write down. And then the problem with that is what other wallet lets you import it. So that's why standardization is really important.
That's
So a lot of
true.
wallets use the BIP39 standard, which follows the 2048 seed words, because then you're very, you're compatible between different wallets. So theoretically, you're right. If the secret's the same as what's being held on the key, you could restore it, but not just in any wallet. It will probably need to be in another Zum wallet, because that's the one that takes that type of import. Other than that, you would have to take that string they give you, figure out how it's encoded, and then get it encoded in the form of seed
They
words, which
have
would
a
be a
tangent
conversion.
backup, so if you do go to another a newer device, they have a tangent backup, because the seed phrase and all that does live on the chip. But they have a zap that is you can use to back it up.
So just in case you were to lose both cards, as long as you still have the seed phrase, you could still back it up just in case.
Yes.
The
Oh,
seed
so
phrase,
that's even foolproof.
not the seed phrase. The
My bad.
private key is
Private
the
key.
ultimate. Like that's the buck stops there. Like I don't really actually like the seed phrase methodology. I get it. Like it's a nice, kind of consumer friendly, easier way of doing things.
You never
But
know who is looking over your shoulders.
yeah, but I mean, just have your actual key. Have your key pair. Like have your full key pair. Like,
I like Wolf. You're so skeptical.
Well, I think the whole um, point behind having a seed phrase is the way you can potentially back it up with hard physical seed backups. You can do multiple. You can say it's 24 words, right? You can divide the 24 words into 2 or even 3 potential physical seed backups, and I think that's the reason why. So you can divide your keys into multiple locations, and if you have a, I guess, RAID type of system where you only need 2 out of the 3, then if one of them gets compromised, you still have a full set of keys with your, depending on your configuration. I think that's the reason why the whole seed thing came to be, but I could be wrong.
CryptoBeast, do you have a Tangent card?
What was that?
Do you have a Tangent card?
Who are you talking to?
808, you there?
No, I was saying CryptoBeast. If 808, if he has a Tangent card.
I think he does. He might have lost service. I definitely do. I got it for signing up for the premium. I haven't set it up yet though. But I think I'm definitely going to set it up now. Now that I know there's like a backup to the backup of the backup.
Because I don't think that you get the seed phrase there. Actually, wait, let me close
No,
the
you
door.
don't get your seed phrase because it lives on the chip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
will be backed up inside using the zap. But
Yeah.
that's what's cool about this tangent card. You can't extract it.
Exactly.
You can't really get it. All the card can do for you is sign.
Yes.
see,
But you can back it up.
I'm gonna be the negative Nancy here.
Hey, that's how, man. That's how.
Well, I think that's how the ledger works too. Is like you can't unless you run some software to reverse the seed phrase generation process. You can't get your private key. That's I'm sorry, man, but I want the private key. Like, I don't care about the seed phrase. I want the private key. I want to see the key pair.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair.
Sorry.
You can. I mean, I use the tangent card, and I have tried different setups with having the tangent card, and the regular key is a paper wallet. Like where I can see the key. I think back then Wietse was saying like he's not advising to do this, or because I mean, you're kind of defeating the purpose in that sense. I mean, compared to, I mean, it depends on how safe you keep the paper wallet, so to speak. I'm a huge fan of it because I kind of like this because you have like the benefits of a cold wallet and also the hot wallet, so to speak, functionalities. But I get definitely what Wolf was saying, because it's true. If you like, if the chip, let's say, gets destroyed or it's just not working anymore, it stops working, and also your backup card, you can set up a backup card, which is a regular key basically. If both die, then then you have no chance to recover. The best way, in my opinion, in that sense, is to have multiple accounts and spread your XRP over 5 accounts, and each of the account has like, let's say, 2 tangent cards, or like one, like spread your risk in that sense, because the chance of, let's say, 10 cards go bust is less likely.
I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
because
lie,
it's
man.
new age.
I've had a paper wallet for a number of years, and a couple of them for because I split things up. But the paper works, man. I'm sorry, you can't hack it. There's no vulnerabilities. I've got things in different physical locations in case one place burns down or something like that.
Yeah, but with the Zam wallet, your private key is encrypted on your on your device, and with the tangent card, it's not, basically, because it's kind of outsourced in that sense. It's not stored on the device itself. If you don't use Zam, then of course it's not applying to you. But if you want to use Zam, in my opinion, like, there is no better way to enhance your security if you use Zam. If you don't use Zam, there are a ton of other opportunities you can do. You can use your command line and everything. But
Like you said, that you can use it like a cold storage wallet. You know what I mean? You can
yeah,
have it made to be that way, to where only you can have a connection to those funds, which is pretty cool. I see it. You can use it in multiple ways. For me, I am not. I just had mine just to fool around, just to get an understanding of it. But it's pretty cool. I like it. I like what we've been seeing, and I'm actually waiting for the casino coin designed ones. Then that's the ones I want.
In my opinion, the closest thing you get to a digital gold bar is the Exum cards. To be honest, it's like a digital gold bar.
So I mean, I'm guessing, I haven't worked with them. The tangent card, it's probably like an NFC chip inside that has the
exactly.
secret. Okay. Now, is it, if I were to, there's a lot of devices, like I could buy off the internet that will just scan NFC on my computer. Does it have the secret on there in plain text, or is it encrypted and needs some sort of a salt that's in the Zum wallet to decrypt it and actually read what's on the card?
I would assume so. Yeah, I would assume so. I haven't
It's
like,
encrypted.
yeah. It's also like, I mean, I think they bumped it up. It was like previously maybe 10 seconds. I don't know, but it's like you have also to to actually sign any transaction or whatever to trigger it. You need to hold it like for 15 seconds or whatever on it. But the copy thing, yeah, that's a good question.
I got a question in regards to generating the key pair. I'm assuming you could only do it via a web browser, right? Is that correct?
In general,
Yes. I
Oh,
mean, how would I generate a pair if not using a
um,
hardware wallet? Oh,
It all depends on the wallet.
you
well,
can.
there. Sorry, was that vet?
Yeah, go ahead. Go
We're
ahead.
talking about the
No,
Exum
you go. You're gonna know better than me.
Well, you can. I mean, you can actually connect it. I mean, if you, maybe this is something. I mean, you have to trust the person that writes you that stuff down, but it's not very. It's not long at all. It's probably one line or so, two lines. You can, if you connect to the funny enough. But if you connect to the Ripple stuff or Ripple infrastructure, basically to the ledger, if you don't have a node or so, you can just generate it yourself. There's, I think, an easy command, generate wallet, whatever it was.
Right.
On the
So
testnet, it's easy.
So it's via a computer or a web browser, right?
Yeah, command line. You
my
can. It's a script. It's a Python script. You can use Python for it, and
Okay.
yeah.
So, but this would typically run in a computer, right? Well, my concern is that if it's now, if I'm creating this account via computer, now this adds a whole new world of vulnerabilities because now
Yeah.
you can have potentials, somebody or a
Yep.
hacker, capturing your screen, or you have a
Yeah.
plugin and like all these, vulnerabilities that these applications had. Now you add kids into a household and you got kids downloading
Yeah.
all these games. Once this becomes mainstream, I guarantee you're gonna see a spike in these type of hacks.
There's gonna be there's a I ended up talking with this guy. He was pretty high up in Microsoft Finance. Basically ran that division. And he was telling me that for their like key generation procedures, they literally had uranium and Geiger counters, and they used the Geiger counters to generate the randomness. So, when you talk key generation, you want to consider how the randomness is generated. Like there was someone that got somebody that did a successful hack years ago, and it was because I think JavaScript, like the random number generator, like somebody sort of back solved that, and so it was like you can like unrandom this random number, and how you generate your randomness or where the source of your randomness is important, and that's like kind of the only other thing to do is multi-sig, so that you get more what's that term? I want to say key space, but I'm not sure that's the right term. There's a term for like the computational space that the
Entropy?
well, the entropy is that's where your randomness comes from. That's why the Geiger counter. But I don't know, it'll come to me in a minute. There's a term for like the I think it's like computational like okay, if I only have a 2-digit password, right? Then, what are there, I don't know, 10 or something? I don't know. I don't know what the real number is. Possible passwords, or 100. I mean, you can run through, I guess it would be 99. You can run through that computational space rather quick. I mean, 99 tries and you brute forced the system. Cool.
Right. But the key space for a given public-private pair would be 2 to the 256 power, which is gigantic. And for even the world's biggest supercomputers, they'd have to run through thousands of years, to hit on something. And as long as what you said, Karma, you have proper entropy or randomness, you should be okay inside of that number space. But multisig does add to it. Multisig is usually, more for when you either have gigantic amounts or amounts that are shared with people. So you need multiple, keys involved. So there's not just one signer. It's not so much about the key space. The key space is already sufficiently big enough to not be brute forced. But yeah, multisig is a good option for certain situations, but it does add, complexity to it as well.
My common crypto, you have your hand up. Thank you very much, man, for.
Hey, hello everybody. Hey, I was wondering if any of you that have a Zum app, if you've ever used the escrow app.
Not need to use the the X app myself. Is there a reason you're asking? You're trying to escrow something?
Well, we always talk about diamond hands, but using the escrow feature would make it even stronger than a diamond hand because you're placing an escrow to be released at a future time. And I just wondered if anybody else had been using that feature and their success with that.
It works. It works for sure if you wanna use it and escrow it, but just make sure you mean it because it's escrowed.
Right.
I've not personally actually used it, but I have some projects that I have designed that would use it, that would need to
So I
use
have accounts for my kids that I have put a lot in escrow, and they only can get it out once they reach two certain ages. And
Right.
I also will have multi-sig to it, so I will be part of their signing of everything else. But I do have, but I don't just do that with them. Yeah, I also educate make it simple for them to understand what I'm doing, so at least they have a simple understanding until they get of age and have better understanding of what they'll be receiving in the future when the time comes.
That's a very interesting use case.
Yeah, that's
Dude,
awesome.
I'm telling you, this financial services industry is going to change a lot in the next few years. Like by 2030, big, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I hear
But
ya.
also be careful about, see, one of the things that escrow does is it takes away your optionality, right? Because now you no longer have the option to access the funds. And so that actually reduces the value of the funds. So you kind of just think about that a little bit. There's situations where it makes sense, like if you and I are doing a deal and I want to make sure that, or I want to make sure you're not going to take the money, you're going to make sure I'm not going to take the money, right? Like then this makes the deal doable, right? Because I can trust that you're not going to run off with the money. You can trust I'm not going to run off with the money, and so it's not that the feature doesn't have a purpose, but if it's just personal funds, I would be hesitant to lock it up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
totally
I was
agree.
thinking of doing like maybe like 1,000 XRP just to start my kids out, like when they turn 18, lock it up until that time, and then that would be released and say, okay, this is your seed money to whatever the value is at that time. Now they have access to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I trust me. Some financial services company is going to copy what you're doing.
Yeah, but I think you bring up a good point, Karma, about the optionality, right? Like you could still put aside the XRP for your kid and earmark it like in your head or not tell them about it until 18. But if like something disastrous, let's say, happens to your family and you're scrambling for capital, and that's like the only thing you have that could have been liquid, instead of borrowing, you are better off liquidating assets you have before borrowing in some cases, not all cases, but a lot of cases. And you've taken that optionality away from yourself when you could have just earmarked it. I think escrow is better used for situations like Karma mentioned when it has to do about trust between two parties and you truthfully need a cryptographic escrow to prove, the funds can't be moved. And that's like the real use case for it.
Always make sure you know what you're doing and have a
Escrow
plan.
escrow effectively introduces liquidity risk. If you want to get like sort of mathy about it, it introduces a liquidity risk. I mean, that's what it does because now you don't have a liquid asset; you have an asset in escrow.
Yeah, but
Now,
Ripple does it.
there's
Right,
ways
and that's
around
that's
that.
the point. You don't want it to be liquid. You want it to be locked up. I mean, that's the point.
For an entity like Ripple, in that sense, I mean, they use the argument for that you have predictability, that oh, okay, at that certain time, that much will be unlocked and so on, So
scams
depends on the use case. Okay.
that would be a tragedy if something like that happened and it was like what you what you needed something to be liquid is locked because of the escrow. That's
actually, I was trying to look this up a little bit before we started the chat here. When did, because they only did 60 months worth of escrows, so I think we're coming up like maybe in the next year or so, close to.
It's August
of this year.
Yeah, it's next month, but they've re-escrowed.
They always re-escrow, yeah.
Right, but if they take any out, then they don't have. It's not like they get another billion a year. Let's say they get $1 billion out, this month, and they re-escrow. I don't know, 900 million.
Yeah.
Well, then
they're not getting
60
that,
months
no.
from now, they're only getting 900 million. They don't get $1 billion. It's not like stuff coming out of nowhere.
They're not selling any of it or something, because we talked also about the liquidity crunch that you could potentially face. In that sense, let's say they have no other assets, you just needed to make it to the next month, basically, because then okay, then get my escrow get released, because you have a constant stream of unlocks. If you have this as well, then the liquidity thing is not so much maybe the issue, because you just have to make it to the next month or a week or whatever you set it up. But if you just to do a one-time escrow, yeah, obviously it should be really for a reason, like CryptoBeast, for example, for his kids.
They also don't re-escrow everything. They have a couple billion liquid as well. So like they have the 1 billion unlocked staggered, and they also have the other stuff already liquid. So
yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the conversation.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's in my opinion, it's an honorable thing, right, to do. But scams does bring up a good point to like a scenario that could occur where it would be silly for you to have it in escrow at that point. But I would say most important thing, right, and especially if we're doing this and leaving this for our families, make sure that the information of how to access this is left available for the family. I think that's utmost importance, right? Because who cares if it's in or not if nobody knows where it is or what it is, and you even have it, kind of thing.
And education how to extract it and do it and all this, because it's not as easy as most people think it is. I have seen it become more easy since blockchain and crypto came about. It's gonna get more easier as time goes by, but I'll always have something for them to easily kind of understand, in a way, to be able to access it, not just have it there, because who knows what happens to us. We live in a crazy world.
on that note about what happens to us, you also have to think about what happens to companies. So you have to think about, like, in terms of esoteric ways of storing your Bitcoin or your XRP or your any asset, right? If you're using something that no one else supports, right? I mentioned BIP39 earlier because a lot of the most common wallets, support seed words now. You have Ledger, you have Trezor, lots of them if you look them up. But if you look at the Tangent card, for example, let's say Zum, goes away. Not saying they're going to, but let's say, XRPL Labs discontinues it or shuts their operations, whatever it is. The app may still work for a little bit, but if it's not being maintained, little changes of the ledger could make the app not work anymore. And then if your only backup is Tangent cards and nothing else can scan a Tangent card the way it encrypts the secret on there, then you're up shit's creek, even though you have your card still, unless something else decides to support that or somebody else decides to support the app. Your backup methods in a way that are going to be transferable to something else in a bad case scenario that support apps.
100%.
I want my key pair.
I
want my key pair. I don't care about your words. I want my key pair.
That's a good point, Scam.
Yeah,
well, in all fairness, like the Tangent card, I think is, depending on how they encrypt it, is a more esoteric option. I get your point, Karma, but it is a very easy conversion to the key pair. You actually do it by hand into binary. There's a binary conversion from each word to the 11 digits, the zeros and ones that it equals, and essentially your private key, your private master key, is just that 256-bit string. Now it may, when you write it down, it might be represented in hexadecimal, so that binary string is only 32 characters of hexadecimal, 0 through 9 and A through F. All it is at the end of the day, 256-bit string. So you can actually, take the words and manually convert it to the key pair, or at least the private and the public part.
If there's a GitHub repo that does that, if you want to throw it up top, that'd be cool.
Yeah, there's a couple. I have to search for it. I'm out on a walk right now, so it's a little harder for me to search for. But there are.
I'm sure there's plenty. There's got to be.
Yeah, there are. And there are some web pages and stuff that we talked about earlier. I wouldn't do that on the internet. For people that are looking to play around more, something I'd recommend is a lot of times you can save these web pages, and it saves the JavaScript that the page uses as well. And then you can do it on an offline computer. Like you could buy a Raspberry Pi for like $30. And you can install like a light version of Linux on it, and then you can, with an SD card, move over the page, and then you can plug the stuff in there and let it calculate. Just remember to never connect that Raspberry or anything like
that. That's actually what I do. That's funny.
Interesting.
I've had this thing for years, but then I have paper backups as well in multiple locations. But yeah, I just use an offline Raspberry Pi.
And if I could ask if people could retweet the space so we could get more awareness, more people in here, and if anybody in this audience wants to come up, if you have any questions, any topics you're wondering, anything that has to do with the space, please feel free to come up and speak. We're doing these just valuable for the information, right, and the community, and I find it valuable. I actually learned a lot of stuff today.
Even if XRPO Labs and Zum was to shut down, you still be able to access your funds. You'll just have to do it manually instead of using their UI and what they have built for people to use. It's not locked in their system. It lives on the blockchain. The blockchain would literally have to shut down for you not to be able to access it.
Well, if you can't access your secret,
you'll just have to be able to move your wallet into your account address and everything over to a participating one that will support XRP.
Well, I think the more important thing it's just to be being able to get the access to the seed phrase. Like you have to have some sort of a wallet that would enable that same sort of transfer the way that Zum does it, or I'm sure there's a more technical way to get it.
They're backwards compatible. It's backwards compatible.
Yeah. Shellfish, though, you came up. Thank you for coming up to speak. You have your hand up. Go ahead.
Tim Draper's like big in like the law field. If you guys just like look up at the top, there was like a way to do like the will stuff, I think. If not, I'm sure he's got a million projects on the blockchain.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So definitely, like giving it through a will is the best way for a third party to acknowledge that you own this and that this is owed to that person. But it's like even in a lawyer's perspective, right? If a lawyer doesn't know what a seed phrase is and a wallet is and all of these things, and they're like, yeah, you have to do all of this to access these funds to give to my family. He's not gonna be able to do anything because he doesn't know how to. So it's like that that piece of importance.
When I when I did the divorce thing, these lawyers, they just kept accusing me of all this stuff, which, and as it turned out, nothing. It was all BS. But they finally were like, and I finally told them, I was like, dude, we got a storm coming in. I was like, dude, it's a public, you have all addresses. You go look it up. Never heard another word out of them. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They have no freaking clue. As soon as I put the onus on them, silence. And that was the end of it.
That's pretty funny. Oh, see, you had your hand up before, though, if you want to go, man. And then Jordan, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'm curious on the tweet you pinned up top, Doctor.
Right on.
About
That's right. We didn't
Yep.
even get to talk about the what happened today from the court case. I haven't read into it deeply enough yet because it was kind of a little confusing. It seems like the judge granted in part and denied in part, right, the request to seal documents in connection with the amici motion to participate. So it seems like John Deaton's motion to try and participate in the court case is getting some notice and some acknowledgement by the judge, but it's like only proposed redactions, so documents that he was trying to submit for the court to take into consideration to bring them into, I think, the lawsuit. Personally, I don't know. I think a settlement's coming pretty soon, but what do I know? I don't think they're going to get to participate. There's no way that the SEC is going to let John Deaton and the 60,000 XRP ledger, and actually I think it's only like 40,000 XRP ledger community members and like 20,000 people who were not actually holding XRP but just thought it was disgusting what the SEC was doing. Petition to come into this lawsuit. There's no way the SEC is going to want that. It's going to be a complete just mess. So I can't imagine that if there is going to be a settlement, it doesn't happen before that. But Jordan, you had your hand up, man. If you would like to. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, just real quickly, I wanted to piggyback on what y'all were talking about earlier about leaving funds and access to funds to family members. So we had been saving, putting aside euros for our two little ones for the last 6 years, and are actually planning on this week or next taking that out and putting a good portion into it and into a few different cryptocurrencies / tokens. And I had thought about the escrow, but I think, yeah, one reason that I think that I'm not going to do that is exactly what Scam said. Like, what if something does happen? Like 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, way before the kids do turn 18. So yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of interesting. This is what we were planning on doing the last couple of weeks, and someone else brought it up. So yeah. So in addition to that,
there's financial accounts that do that kind of thing, like that are designed for that purpose. That's why I said some financial service is going to copy whatever. I forget who said that, but whatever. Some financial services company is going to copy those methods.
Yeah, no doubt for sure. But one thing that I did have already in mind was, obviously keeping whatever information on paper that we can in a few different super secure spots, giving my wife the rundown of how to access everything, and then even having a couple of really, really close family friends that I trust that are active in the crypto space, to have them as sort of like, absolute backups. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like the law of the world. If you're thinking it, there's somebody else who's thinking it, and if you have a question, there's somebody else who has that question. It's like I love when people come up and ask them because there's somebody else who's most likely thinking the same thing.
I like that you said that, Jordan, because I do have real close family members of mine that's real active in this space, but they don't have the phrases and the secrets that is secured until if something was to happen to me, they'll be able to get that information and they will know what to do with it. So I'll be going to the point of not actually giving them the actual secret phrase, but have it to where they'll be able to receive it if something was to happen to you. Like said, you know what I mean? Like how we write your will, say, okay, you have the information locked in this box somewhere, or if I was to pass away, I have people that already understands how to do this process and how to get it, and by then, and then instead of you actually giving them that phrases at that time, they'll get it if just in case something happens. But I like that. I like this talk.
I have the the key pair seed phrase and all that stuff in multiple physical locations. Like, and so actually other people could. I have other people's key phrases. I look like a bad person. I could figure. Other people have my key phrases. So if something happened to me, there you go. Fine. Right? Like, but I mean, these are family members, so that's okay.
Arrow, thank you for coming up. And if you'd like to go ahead.
Oh, yep. Oh, yeah. Hey, guys. Yeah, just back to saying, or what you guys were talking about in regards, you could just leave your keys with a lawyer or whatever, just like with any will. And then the other thing I was going to mention, if you guys probably you all remember that story with the guy that killed himself, the BNY Mellon guy. There's huge issues with his family trying to recover his keys, and he had multiple ledgers or whatever wallets all across the world, and it was like a huge mess trying to organize all that afterwards. But I remember reading, I don't know if this is true, you guys might know, whether like his stuff was locked up, but working with Ripple, I remember reading this, working with Ripple, they were able to recover some of it. So that sounded kind of like fishy to me at the time. Like, I don't know if anyone heard anything about that, but yeah, that's pretty much what I was going to bring up.
What is it that they lost that they were able to recover? Like they lost
his XRP. Sorry, yeah, the guy that he had like a millions and millions of dollars worth of XRP, and then he committed suicide, and then his family was in court or whatever trying to get his XRP, and it took years, but they were able to somehow recover it or get the XRP back, I believe, without his keys. So I don't know if that's true or not. There's not too many articles
That's not
about
true.
it.
It's just not possible.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
But maybe what would happen is maybe that somebody had the seed phrase locked up, and that they were fighting in court to get access to the seed phrase. Once they got the seed phrase, they got access to the wallets. That's a possibility.
Yeah, that sounds more likely for sure.
And sometimes people lock up their, let's say they have it on a hard drive and it's locked up with some passwords and it's nowhere found where they did write this up. Then maybe some people at Ripple, can try to,
help
break.
With that.
Yeah, break to see the file. Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
Basically, recovery.
That makes more
this
sense.
is possible. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, interesting story nonetheless. But yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been such a great conversation so far. I think we're going to cut it right around 5 o'clock, so probably got another 15, 20 minutes or so we're going to be doing this today. I think Karma lost power. If you guys heard before, I think he had like a thunderstorm going on. It's a joy of living on the beach in Florida, I guess. But
yeah, it's super sunny over here right now. We just got done having heavy rains, which is funny. They say we have a drought, but it freaking rains on the mountain where I live every morning. That's how I do a lot of land battles. That's what I'm stoked about. That partnership that Ripple has with that company in Colombia doing the land stuff, because that's gonna help out a lot with what I go through almost every day where I live. I go through a lot of land battles, especially with big companies like A and B Land. Like, it's crazy going through like freaking broken titles, clear titles, having all that information to be able to go against these big companies that come in to buy up all these lands in Hawaii, where we have families and families that own those properties, but they just don't know about it because all of the deeds that has and all that happened in the past. It's crazy, but it's good to hear about that blockchain company and Ripple did something to where it would be recorded, in a sense to make it easier. Can't wait to see how that works out. Be looking to that more.
Hey, Wolf.
Go ahead, Wolf. Gene, I think you have to, if you can mute yourself. But I think we hear you if you're cooking or typing over there. But Wolf, if you got your hand up, man, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just have a question that might be stupid for you developers, but once the hooks on the extra pinches, what would keep people to continue develop on the Flare network on the EVM?
So there's no stupid question whatsoever.
Never a stupid question. What did you say, the Wolf? I think you broke up in the middle of it.
Sorry.
I understood it. He said if the hooks would cannibalize basically the Flare network with its features.
So I would say
Thanks. That
Hook
was
doesn't today, so there's no way to know it ever even comes. Just like XLS20, right? There's no way to know it ever actually even comes. That being said, it is kind of like a smart contract logic execution, but it is still different from what you can do with like EVM smart contracts in the end of the day, and these various different smart contract networks. There will still be differences between what hooks can do and what like an Ethereum virtual machine smart contract can execute. However, things like utilizing hooks, you could execute a string of transactions on the XRP ledger, which then communicates to a transaction that executes on Flare or Songbird, right? Which then executes another transaction, which executes another transaction back on the XRP ledger. So, I mean, the interoperability between the two would exist. I don't want to think of them as competition. I think of them as two different use cases. In almost all settings, I think of like I look at the XRP ledger as like my layer one, and everything else is side chains, because I feel like transactional settlement, or right, the value right could occur on the XRP ledger if need be. Keep it slim, keep it quick, keep it cheap, and have all of these other string of things occurring on for different blockchains or side chains.
Yeah, I think also. I hope, can you guys hear me? To my back, or
I can hear you. Yeah, all good.
okay. There's a difference in the what's the right way to say that? There's a difference in the way like the the logic is performed. An EVM is trying. It's not really succeeding, in my opinion, but it's succeeding good enough to be like a Turing complete thing. Versus the hooks, I see as more on the complexity side, where you're creating feedback loops and a series of if this happens, well, then that happens. But if this other thing happens, then something different happens, right? And now you've got a branch out of I think they're just different ways of handling the business logic. The other thing with hooks is you're going to be restricted to effectively to what functions the XRP ledger has embedded. Right? With an EVM, you could come up with some sort of anything and make it. With hooks, you kind of got to build within the what's available, what functionality is available. But the good thing is there's a lot of functionality available. If you're creative enough, you can do a lot with it. But it's not like a open, like a blue sky open, do anything you can think of like an EVM.
Speaking of Flare, Death Ranger, what's up, by the way? Wasn't it supposed like something day 11?
Yeah, but I guess they didn't stick to it. Who knows? I mean, for all we know, the
Okay.
I know Tom said on Twitter, he was like, no, they didn't launch it yet, but who knows, right? In all reality, I mean, Flare could just be hosting the single node that exists. Is that like, it's not sufficient. It won't, and so I'll give them time. It's whatever. They said 8 weeks, so give them 8 weeks.
Oh, so 8 weeks is it now, like
Yeah,
approximately?
So from July 11th, we have a minimum of 8 weeks to where the token dish is going to occur, and they will not distribute the tokens until they are at least 33% or less of the validation of the network. Which,
gotcha.
if they get all the FTSOs that are on Song, they'll be fine.
That's very interesting on a math level and a legal level.
Yes, exactly.
But it is deployed, right? So you can say like Flare is launched, but they right now in the process of distributing the tokens, right?
Yeah.
Is it correct?
Yeah, well, we were supposed to say they were launched, but then I guess I saw Tom on Twitter earlier said that they didn't launch today, but they're going to do it this week whenever they feel like it. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not in a rush, so.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Um,
yeah, it's unfortunate for the community. I think it's always like, with I mean, they really wanted to stick with it, I guess, right? With the timeline they gave, but
yeah, I think all the popularity is going to be with Songbird first anyway, because like they said, any layer one changes, any amendments that were to occur to change the blockchain are most likely going to be done or tested on Songbird first before everybody wants to say okay, yay or nay. See,
especially with the delay, kind of, I think that gives more like the boost right now for Songbird, because I think S assets might come to the same, at the same time around when they distribute the tokens, because this is also like kind of lurking, right? The S assets.
yeah, we're waiting for it. I know it's just it's the state connector itself has been live on Songbird for well over a month now. So are really only waiting for the S asset or F asset protocol, you would say, to be launched for us to be able to bring the wrapped assets on.
Excited about. I think the other stuff is super important too, but I wonder if we've got the hooks on the XRP Ledger Foundation network. I wonder if that, now that there's this idea of like a canary network, I wonder if that sort of becomes the XRPL's canary network, or maybe there will be multiple. I don't know. That's kind of because you test this stuff out, but I don't know if that network is that like it's probably still just like a dev net, right? Like it's all just fake, just digital whatever.
What network?
Where they're running the hooks amendment.
Oh yeah, it is. It's the DevNet. Yeah, for right now. They have hooks and they have the XLS 20D, the NFTs running,
which is interesting.
Yeah, they have them working together.
Yeah.
They have what working together?
The XLS 20, the NFTs, and the hooks. They have both simultaneously running on the DevNet. Like you could go and do both executions with hooks utilizing the NFTs, right? Or use the NFTs, I should say.
Yeah.
I was trying to observe reality clearly. It sounds like it's turning into a canary network.
Yeah, I know, the DevNet. Yeah, it's basically that's what a DevNet should be. It's a canary network with no value, and that's why I like Songbird as not. I think the best way to call it is a mainnet that acts as a test bed.
I mean, I personally still I think it's not really well tested right now. I think there should be more testing going on. But who knows? Because the thing is, like, if we found more issues, I mean, oh man, God knows. I mean, they have to be critical, of course, but they will keep delaying it, I guess, until they don't. But yeah, I mean, the testing is very, very important in that sense. Especially like with the, I mean, it's not always like has something to do with, that the actual object is or has an issue. It's also like with the underlying software, like Ripple D that has to be kind of working also seamlessly in that sense. I don't know. Like I'm excited to see what's going on, because the performance report alone is for me not. I mean, it's not really. I don't know. It's not surprising for me that it went very well. If you kind of host. I mean, yeah, it's very synthetic in my opinion. The benchmark.
Chris, thank you for coming back up. We got a couple more minutes, 5 more minutes. We're gonna close out the space. But if anybody has any questions, if they'd like to come up and ask anything or anything on topic, anything they're wondering, please. Oh, awesome. Go ahead, Mike. Crypto.
quick question, just off the top of your head. Recent project on the XRP ledger that kind of blew your hair back a little bit.
Are you talking about projects that I particularly like myself?
Yeah. Anybody.
Well, I mean, there's all different types of things, right? Like there's NFT projects. I kind of like this one. There's like Zerpcraft, which is like a Minecraft game, but has transactional validation for you owning the in-game land on the XRP ledger. So that's pretty cool. You know, there are like a marketplace I'm really looking forward to called Clever Gallery. It's one of the XRPL devs who's building it in the community. His name is. You know, there's like projects I like the X Rooms. That's part of the X Rooms, and you know, there's a decent amount of stuff. You know, I would say though, most important thing is if you're ever looking to find out what projects are good, you know, see if people are doxxed. See if you like what they're doing. Are they creating real world value? What's the use case behind everything, right? And make sure you're comfortable with it. And you know, always do your own research and feel never do something that is never going to you're going to look back and you're going to say I shouldn't have done that to yourself. Never spend something you can never you need, right? That's the number one. And don't take financial advice from absolutely anyone. Go ahead, Chris. Oh, were you just raising your hand?
A really good research tip. Search Rippleton and the project you're curious about.
That's very good. Yeah.
Search what? What was that again? Search what?
Rippleton. He's a member of the community, and he goes out of his way to ask them deep questions. And as soon as they turn the eye, he exposes them very quickly and starts publicly saying that what they're doing is very incorrect. Yeah, and also Too Cold. If you want to come up, you should come up. The XRPL cookout that Too Cold hosts on Sundays. She tries to vet these projects too, the particular projects that come up and speak about themselves.
Okay, how do you spell that? Rippleton. How do you spell that?
Oh, it's real.
I pinned it up in the top. You can follow.
Oh, there you go.
You know.
Another thing I wanted to mention was with testnet. I want to see a wallet set up with hooks, where if I send say 100 XRP to, it sends me an offer for an NFT. So it'd basically be a minting wallet with no application.
That's a nice idea, man.
So what was it that you said, Chris?
Have any of you looked at the Lobster wallet for the XLM ledger?
Yep, I have it.
Yeah, they're doing something interesting right now where they're actually putting up warnings for tokens that look to be scams.
Yeah, and and they took in my opinion, way too long to do that. Because
so we could sit with a hook.
Chris, I think.
He's good now, I think.
Yeah, I think he might have been good now. But yeah, I think they took way too long to put those warnings up because I had a lot of people coming to me and they were like, Ford and Google, they exist on the XLM network. They're being traded. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, Tesla. This says it was like quantum Tesla. And I was like, what is this? And so people are getting tricked because it's the exact same thing on the XRP ledger and any open source technology. Anybody can create anything and call it whatever they want. Just you have to vet it. You have to make sure what it is that you are putting your own value into. But yes,
anything like that coming? Anybody have any idea if anything like that's coming through on the Zoom wallet?
Yeah. Oh, the trust lines. Well, we had the trust lines. It's the same thing. I mean, all of these technically, when you set a trust line, right? It's the same set of mechanics that are occurring on the Stellar network. You're setting a trust line with these different providers or different accounts that are created, and you just gotta vet them.
Yeah, I didn't know if there'd be like some type of warning feature on Zoom. Yeah, I'm well aware of the trust lines and utilizing those.
Yeah, Zoom does just like kind of blanket warning. They're like, listen, like whenever you make a trust line, they say, make sure the party that you're making a trust line with is like, you exactly know who they are in your trust line because it's a trust line. But I think we're going to close out the space. I think Karma might have just lost service also again. Just want to thank everybody who came out today and everybody who continuously keeps coming out. We wouldn't be doing these if everybody didn't find them valuable. And I personally, I really like it when you guys come up, and I learn a ton from everybody else in the community too every day. So I just want to keep continuing to do these, and we do them Monday through Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, from 3:30, typically to 5:30. On Mondays and Thursdays we cut it a little short, and on Wednesdays we do a 5 to 6 space. But love everybody. I will see everybody tomorrow.
Thanks, guys, so much for holding space.